Hello all. In this video I am going to discuss about directory structures in the files. So what is a directory? So directory is nothing but it's a group of files. It will be going to store in some space called, you can say, it is a directory. So a storage device can be split into one or more partitions. Okay, this storage device can be anything, your hard disk, your USB, okay, anything, your RAM, ROM, anything, okay. Your storage device can be split into one or more partitions, that is known as slices or mini disk. Okay, the storage device is going to dividing into so many partitions. Okay, that is called slices or mini disk. Any entity containing a file system is known as volume. Okay, so that particular entity, so it is going to dividing into different partition, and each partition will be having some files, right? That particular entity or that partition is known as volume. We are giving a term called volume. Okay, so each volume may be a subset of that particular device or a whole device. Okay, so the volume, you can say, it will be having some subset of a device. So whatever the contents, total contents in that, some subset will be having in that volume or the whole device. Okay, or the whole uh, file also, it will be there in the device also, you can say it is a volume. Okay, and each volume must also contain information about the files in the system. Okay, so not only that files, it will be having all the information regarding about that particular files in the system also will be having in that volume. This info is kept in entries in a device directory. Okay, these information about the files is going to keeping inside a device directory, or you can say that is a volume table of contents. In some table of contents, it will be having, okay, that some information regarding that particular files. That information, you can say that information is nothing but that attributes of the file. Attributes of the file, what is attributes of the file? We have discussed in the last video, that is its name, its size, its mode of operation, right? And all its attributes, that is nothing but that is information about the file will be going to keep in a directory called its device directory, and that, you can say, another words, it is a volume table of contents. Okay, so your storage device is going to dividing into different partitions, and each partition, you can say, it is the in that partition will be having a subset of that device file, or the whole file will be going to storing in that particular volume. Okay, so this is an example for directory structure. So already I told, in the device directory or in the directory, it will be records the following information for all files on that volume. Okay, so whatever the information on that file, whatever the file that is stored in the directory, all the information of that corresponding files, they will be going to store, okay, inside the device directory or simply that directory. Okay, so directory, what are the information I told? It's attributes of that file, right? What are the attributes? That its name of that particular file, what is the location of that file, its size and its type. What is type? Dot, it's dot extension, like dot txt, dot ppt, correct? That is nothing but type. So these information also, it will be going to store in the inside the directory. So not only the files, these attributes of the files or information about the files also will be going to store in a directory. Okay, so this is a typical file system organization example. So files in any storage device can be stored in different ways. Okay, so this is one way. So suppose this is a one disk, and then this disk, you can see that they have given two directories. So directory, in that directory some files are there, another directory, some another set of files are there, right? So in this way also they can do, or in same disk so many directories they can maintain, or in this partition you can see that only one directory, inside that directory all the files in the disk is going to maintain. Okay, so that depends on the type of the file system, this directories structure will be going to vary. Okay, so directory and directory structures, actually it is going to dividing into 5 types, that is single level directory, 2 level directory, tree structured directories, acyclic graph directories and general graph directory. Okay, so these are the different types of directory or directory structures. So about these directory structure I will be going to discuss in this video further. So directory overview. What are the operations you will be going to do inside a directory? Okay, so operations you are going to perform on a directory. What are the operations? Is almost same as what are the operations you can do inside a file that we already discussed in the previous videos. Okay, so you can search particular file. So directory you can already I told in a directory there will be having some set of so many set of files, right? So for particular file you can search in the side a directory by using the search, that is search for a file. We need to be able to search a directory structure to find the entry for a particular file. Okay, you can search a file inside the directory and you can create a file inside the directory and you can delete a file. Okay, if you no longer needed any file means you can delete a file. First you have to find out that particular directory and you have to remove it from that directory, right? Then list a directory. We need to be able to list the files in a directory. So in the directory what are the files contained, you have to know means you can have the option of list. Okay, so that you can see what are the in that particular directory what are the files are there. Okay, list the contents of the directory entry of for each file. Okay, that is another operation you can do in a directory, that is list. Then rename a file. Because the name of a file represents its contents to its users, we must be able to change the name when the contents or use of the file changes. Okay, so you renaming of a file also possible. Okay, and same like you can rename your directory also. Okay, then traverse the file system. Okay, we may wish to access every directory. If you want to access any particular file means first it has to access that particular directory, then every file within a directory structure, file will be inside that particular directory structure, right? So you can access a particular file means first you have to access that directory in which that file is corresponding file is occurred, right, is situated, and that particular directory inside you can find out or you can access any file, right? For reliability it is a good idea to save the contents and structure of entire file system at regular intervals, right? See, if you are whatever you are opening a file, suppose in a D drive you have opened D drive. So D drive is your directory. You can say inside that you have created another one folder. Okay, that is another one more directory inside that D folder, right? Then in that folder you have created a Word document, right? So that is a file, right? In that file you are opening and you are typing something means while you keep on doing something operation, read or write operation from your file, you will be going to store or save the contents so that it will be there in your memory, in your the system's memory. Okay, even if power is go off also, that contents will be there in the permanent memory, right? So that is nothing but saving the contents. Okay, so these are like operations. What are the operations you can do on a directory? So first type of directory we are going to discuss is single level directory. Okay, so already I told a files, so many set of files are grouping together inside a directory, right? And not only a directory will be having only that files, all the information, it will be going to maintain a separate table. Okay, so in that table it will be going to maintain all the file information details also in the inside the directory structure. Okay, so all files are contained in the same directory. So in the single level directory, there will be having a single directory, okay, single level of directory, and whatever the files you have to store means or you have to save means, you have to copy or you have to create inside that particular single directory. That is single level directory. Okay, so you can see that here square boxes, see square boxes we are keeping as one in the das directory, and the circles are nothing but that files in that is saved inside that particular directory. So these are C directories, and inside that directory only one directory they are maintaining, and inside that directory only files you can store. Okay, so single directory is there, and inside that single directory you have to store all of your files, whatever the files you are creating, it has to store in that single directory. That is single level directory. And what will be the disadvantage? See, of course naming problem will be there, right? All files, see, because you see, suppose you are system, you are having only one directory like C drive only is there, only C drive is there, means what will be going to happen? You can't have the option to create inside C drive another folder. Means what will be going to happen? Whatever the files you are going to store inside that C drive, means all the files should have unique name, right? If you are repeating the same name, means it will be showing an error, right? If you are having another option of creating another folder, means you can have same name. But even if you are having a single level of directory, means inside that you are storing any file, means all the files must have any some unique names. That is a tedious task, right? There will be having thousands of files, means you have to find out 1,000 names, right? That is a tedious task. That is the main limitation of single level directory. Then another limitation is grouping problem. Okay, difficult to remember. See, so many 1,000 files means 1,000 names you have to remember also. Difficult to remember names of all files as number of files increases. So many files will be there and it is difficult to find out that particular file. That is disadvantage of single level directory. So we are moving on to the another type called two level directory. Okay, so in the two level you can see that there will be a master file directory. So inside, so user 1 is a master file directory. Inside that particular directory you can create one more level of directory called user file directory or UFD, user file directory or UFD, and master file directory or MFD. So master files, user 1 is master file directory. Inside that you can create user file directory. So these are user file directories. So inside that user file directory you can store some files. So here another C master file user 2, again this is another user file directory. Then inside that you can store files. So here it is master file, then user file directory. So two levels of directories you can create, right? So a separate directory for each user. So what is the concept is they are considering that if there are 5 users, means they are going to create 5 separate directories for 5 users. Okay, here in this example there are 4 users, so 4 separate directories. So 1 2 3 4 separate directories for 4 users. So whatever that user contains, it will be going to store or use that user file. That user file they can store in that corresponding directory, that is user file corresponding directory or UFD. So a separate directory for each user, and each user has his own user file directory or UFD, and the UFDs have similar structure. All the UFDs have similar structure, and each UFD lists only the files of a single user. Okay, and when a user job starts, the system's MFD is searched. MFD is equal to master file directory. So you have to access some file, means first it has to find out master file directory. Inside that it has to find out user file directory, then from there accessing the file. Okay, and MFD is indexed by username. So this is username they have indexed. Okay, that username is pointing to that corresponding directory, user file directory. Inside that the corresponding file will be going to store. Okay, and each entry in MFD points to the UFD for that particular user. So MFD will be going to point to the UFD of that corresponding user. This user is the user 1 is the master file directory. Its user file directory, it will be going to point it that inside that particular user 1, its user directory, inside that its corresponding files will be going to store. So this is structure for two level directory structure. And to create a file for a user, here in this case if you want to create a file for a user, the operating system searches only that user's user file directory, okay, UFD, to determine whether another file of that name exists. Okay, so creating a file means just it has to, so that particular first problem in that single level, that is unique name, it is solving here, because inside that file it has to just search whether inside that user file directory that same name exists or not. If it is not there, they can create with any name. Okay, then that is creating a file. To delete a file also, operating system limits its search to that local UFD. Okay, it has to just search, or it has to search its only local user file directory. Thus it cannot accidentally delete another user's file that has the same name. Okay, so another user file directory, see here another user file directory, here you can see this, see this particular directory also can have same name, and this particular directory also can have the same name, because it is different thing, and here in this also, see, this file is A. Okay, this file is test. See here in this also they can have A, this also they can have the same file with A, and this also they can have with text, because these are several directories, right, inside that directory. So they have to make sure that in the same directory with the same file names doesn't exist or not, because it is not possible inside the same directory again creating a same file with name A is not possible. Okay, they can create same name with A in another directories. Okay, so that is what OS limits its search to the local UFT, so that it won't delete any another user's file that has the same name. Okay, so what are the advantages? No file name collision among different users, since it is in storing in the different directories, and efficient searching also easy compared to one single level directory. And what will be the disadvantage? Users are isolated. Okay, each user directories or files are isolated from one another and can't cooperate on the same task. Okay, no sharing of files among the different directories. Okay, that is one disadvantage of two level directory. Okay, so solving this thing, we are coming with tree structured directories. Okay, they are coming with tree structured directories. That is the third type of directory structure. That is here in this case you can see that there is no single level or two level. Okay, multiple level or any number of level you can create, system can create its directory structure. Okay, so users can create their own subdirectories and organize files. It is no restrictions of single level or two level. Okay, user can create their own subdirectories and organize the file. So here in this case, see, this is the root. Inside that, in this particular one directory only, this is one file. Here in the inside, so see, in this particular one directory, mail directory, again it is going to create another subdirectory, right, subdirectory, again it is going to create another subdirectory for copy, and finally one file. Okay, so you are having a freedom of creating in its own subdirectories. Then a tree is the most common directory structure. This is the most common directory structure. The tree has a root directory. This is the root directory, and every file in the system has a unique path name. So there will be having a unique path name. So whichever the subdirectories you are storing your files, there will be having a unique path name. Okay, for example, see, you have to find out that list, in list directory some file you have to find out, means what will be the path. See, programs, inside the programs, inside the P folder, inside the list, what is the file that is stored inside that list, right? So that is it is having a unique path name. Next, inside the tree structure directories, a directory contains some set of files or subdirectories. A directory is simple another file, but it is treated in a special way. In each directory entry, one bit, here in this case, one bit, that is 0 bit, defines it as a file, and bit 1 denotes it as a subdirectory. Okay, and I told there will be having, each file will be having a unique path name. Path name can be of two types, that is absolute path name and relative path name. Okay, so you can have that each file will be having two path name, that is absolute path name and relative path name, and all the files will be having some unique path name. Absolute path name will be going to begin from the root. Okay, begin, that is, this is the root, it will be going to begin from the root, that is absolute path name of a file. And relative path name defines a path from the current directory structure. See, current directory structure means, suppose this particular file, relative path means this current directory is count will be the relative path name, you can say. So defines a path from the current directory structure. Okay, absolute path name will be going to begin from the root directory. Okay, how to delete a directory, you will be knowing, right, how you can simply delete some directory. If the delete, you have to delete a directory, means if that particular directory is empty, means you can just delete that directory. If you want to delete a non-empty directory, means what are the things you have to do? First, you have to delete all the files in the directory. Then if any subdirectories exist, this procedure must be applied recursively to them, right? If any subdirectories exist, you have to go to inside that subdirectories, you have to delete that subdirectory, then only at the end you can delete the main directory. Okay, if it is a non-empty directory. Advantage: users can be allowed to access the files of other user. Here in this case, user can have the option to allow, or that is like allow to access the files of other users also. They have the option. Okay, that is advantage. Okay, in that previous single level, there is no option of they allowed to access the files of other names. Okay, or other users. In the disadvantages, a path to a file can be longer than path in a two level. This obviously, right, there is having a more subdirectories means path of a file will be longer than the two level directory structure. Okay, and prohibits the sharing of files or directories. Okay, even though user can be allowed to access the files of other users, it is actually prohibiting the sharing of files or directories. Okay, so sharing of one file in that particular structure, it can't share or it can't use in that another directory structure. That is actually a disadvantage here. Okay, that is in the tree structure directories. Next is acyclic. So this sharing was a problem in tree structure also. So how they are going to solve that sharing problem by using or by introducing another graph or another directory structure called acyclic graph directories. Okay, the directories can share, here in this case the directories can share subdirectories and files. See here, you can see that, you can see from this figure only this example. See here, this directory count is having a file, that same file, that another directory with the count also, with the name count also can share it. Okay, here W is sharing this particular directory list, and this is also again sharing with this another directory words, right? Okay, so this sharing option is happening only in acyclic graph directories. Okay, so directories can share subdirectories and files only in the acyclic graph directories. Okay, sharing of files among the directories or subdirectories. An acyclic graph means, you will be knowing acyclic means what? A graph with no cycles. Even though they are sharing, it will be having no cycles. The same file or subdirectory may be in two different directories. Same file or subdirectories will be in two different directories. Only one shared file exists, so any changes made by one person are immediately visible to the other. So whatever the changes happening to this will be going to affect for this both directories. That is sharing, right? This particular thing is sharing by both means, if this person is changing something here means, it will affect this particular person also. This will be going to see by this particular person also. That is sharing concept, right? Acyclic graph directory. So sharing is happening only in the acyclic graph directories. Next, fourth type is general graph directories. Okay, so when that cyclic graph directory will be having a issue is if there are cycles is happening. Okay, if there is having a some cycles. See here in this case, see general graph directory or cycle graph directory means, see here you can see that here in this case, see book. See from here it is going to share uh, book directory from book to here. Okay, so this is actually, it is happening a cycle. Here it is happening a cycle, right? Here also, see here it is sharing. Okay, here it is sharing, and here also it is happening a cycle, right? So where, when it is happening, when a cycle is going to create, okay, like this, it is a cycle, right? When there is a cycle means it will be having an issue. That is, if there are cycles, we want to avoid searching. So cycle will be happening means every time some file it has to search means, it will be going to search, keep on searching. Okay, searching components twice. Okay, so solution for this particular thing is, it will be going to limit the number of directories accessed in a search. Okay, so with this problem with cycles, the reference count may be non-zero even when it is no longer possible to refer to a directory. Okay, so what is a reference count is the value of 0 in the reference count means, what is a reference count means, suppose a reference count is 0 means what? There are no more references to the file or directory and the file can be deleted. There is no content in that particular file and it can be deleted because it is not actually going to use for any files. Okay, that is reference count of any directory. Okay, so the reference count of that particular directory is 0 means it is no longer using by any file, it can be easily deleted. Okay, So with this cycle, if it is happening, means every time that reference count may be non-zero, even when it is no longer using also, every time that reference count will be non-zero. So it is very impossible to delete that particular directory or file. Okay, that is the problem that will be happening with the cycles. What is the problem? That every time whatever the references or whenever the a directory is going to refer, each time reference count will be going to vary. Okay, it is going to increase. Okay, so suppose a reference count of a directory, so before deleting it will be going to check any directory, it will be going to check its reference count. A reference count is zero, means so long time it is not referring by any file, that means it is having no content. Okay, so it can easily delete that particular directory. Okay, so in the case of with cycles, every time reference count will be non-zero, so that it is impossible to delete any directory with a cycle. Okay, so what is the solution that is coming up for this particular problem is garbage collection scheme. Okay, garbage collection scheme is to determine when the last reference has been deleted. Okay, so what will be going to find out, garbage collection is actually nothing but it will be going to find out whichever the directories or whichever the files that is not at all being used for so long time. Okay, it will be going to mark. Okay, it will be going to mark which are the files that is not at all going to used so long time. Okay, suppose in so many cases, so many cases some process or will be going to access that file so long time and it won't be going to release that file. Okay, so what is going to happen is it is not actually using by that process, but even though it will be going to using or wasting that space of the memory. Okay, so in that cases and all, garbage collection will be going to find out that some files or some particular files are no longer actually needed in the system or needed in the memory. Okay, so that you can store it while deleting. By deleting those type of files, it can save some space in the memory. So those cases it is needed this garbage collection scheme. It will be going to do it with two passes. Okay, so in first pass it will be going to traverse the entire file system and marks everything that can be accessed. Whichever the file that can be accessed, it will be going to mark it. Okay, in second pass collects everything that is not marked onto a list of free space. So whichever it is not marked, that is for example in the case of not marked means, see here in this case cycle, with cycle files won't be marked. Okay, so those type of files it will be going to keep in a list of free space, or it will be going to delete whichever files that is not at all needed or not at all used for so long time, so that it is going to save that particular space. Okay, that is general, it is coming under general graph directory. That is the fifth type of graph directory structure. Okay, so this is about directory structure. Hope you understood. Thank you.